Dear friends, this is our VPC devotional series, and you're looking at the video version. There's also a written version available online and a hard copy that you can get. And we are zooming along in our study of Leviticus this summer. We're up to chapter 18. Today we're going to be looking at verses 1 through 6 of Leviticus 18, and on this July 7th, 2024. So let's listen for the word of the Lord as it comes to us from Leviticus. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and said, "Speak to the Israelites. Say to them, I am the Lord your God. You shall not do as they did in the land of Egypt, where you lived, and you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan, to which I am bringing you. You shall not follow their statutes. My ordinances you shall observe, and my statutes you shall keep, following them. I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my statutes and my ordinances. By doing so, one shall live. I am the Lord." And then verse 6, which introduces a different theme. "None of you shall approach anyone near of kin to uncover nakedness. I am the Lord." Let's put this in a little bit of context. Leviticus 18, we have seen that the Day of Atonement is the center of the center. It's the center of Leviticus. In many ways, it is the center of the 5 books of the Pentateuch, because it deals with the way in which the brokenness that we have and the guilt that we incur and the shame that can envelop us that comes from the things we do that are wrong to one another and to God is dealt with and sent away, as well as the repercussions of the things that we do that impact others and spread out like the ripples in a pool. That's dealt with on the Day of Atonement. So the Day of Atonement is a very freeing thing. It gave every Israelite a yearly fresh start and a new opportunity to reflect God's will in their lives. And as we move to the second half of the book of Leviticus, we see that it concerns how we're going to do this business of reflecting. How are we going to be a blessing to others? How are we going to reflect God's character, His mercy, His justice, and love in our lives? In a small way, we can reflect all of that. Isn't that exciting that your life can reflect God's truth and justice and mercy and goodness? But that would mean, as we hear in this paragraph, that they would have to live differently than they had in Egypt. In Egypt, it was much more difficult to reflect God's love and character because they didn't have control of their own lives. They couldn't make responsible choices in many areas of their own lives. They had to just follow whatever the Egyptians said. And so now they're going to have to exercise responsible choice. And so there's a wonderful thing about freedom. It gives us an opportunity to do the right thing, but misused, it can get us into great trouble. And so now they're going to have to exercise responsible choice in a new way. And they shouldn't do that in the way that it's done in Canaan. Why is that? Well, as we'll see in Leviticus, God commands us to be responsible decision makers in every area, following His commands in the areas that have to do with our bodies, our sexuality, our family life, our neighborhoods, our economics and our work lives, our public life, our law, our politics, and all these areas we're to obey God. And in the land of Canaan, there was sexual license with respect to the way people used their bodies for pleasure and domination. There was chaotic family life. There was deceptive economics, exploitive public life. And so the people of Israel are warned they can't do it like the folks in the land. They can't be overly influenced by the cultures in the land to which they're moving. The first example of that in verse 6 is this business of sexuality. The sacrifice of Jesus, we always have to remember we deal with any area of our lives where we're likely to make mistakes. The sacrifice of Jesus, His great atonement, creates a permanent opportunity for forgiveness and new life. And this is needed desperately in the areas of human sexuality and family life, because our era celebrates unfettered desire, a kind of formless lack of restraint. You know, the only real constraint on sexuality is don't harm anyone. But sexual desire is inherently unstable and boundless. It can create chaos. It can blind our decision making when it comes to this business of whether we're going to harm ourselves or harm someone else. Stable families, we should remember, have the lifelong job of generating new citizen saints who know how to live and work and pray and love and sacrifice. And this requires promise keeping and fidelity and stability in those marriages, because it's a lifelong job. The sexuality limits in Leviticus and the New Testament seek to channel our desire to the higher ends of love and serving God and blessing others. And so sexuality isn't kind of its own reality that operates by its own rules. It's meant to serve, love God, and to bless others. And so avoid the chaos that comes with unlimited pleasure seeking and encounter. So the question for today is, do we reflect God's love in our love life? And are we distinctive, like Israel is called to be, not like those in Canaan, not like those in Egypt? Let's take a moment and pray. Lord, every good gift of life can be misused. Guide our choices in work, in relationships, in friendships, in family life, in every area of life in our society. We want to know, particularly in our personal relationships, a disciplined desire that enriches relationships and builds families and honors promises. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen.